Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your den of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Jason Hunt here, inviting you to join us every Saturday morning for news. The week's headlines in science fiction, fantasy, horror, comic books, video games, plus Comic-Con updates and the weather, and the occasional interview along the way. We call it Good Morning Multiverse. We hope you join us every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 Central, right here on Sci-Fi For Me TV.
Hi, and welcome to the Kickstarter. I am Roland Mann, and I'm the chief cook and bottle washer at Silverline Comics, a genre-spanning independent comic and graphic novel publisher. And I'm here to tell you about our Kickstarter number 20! 20! Can you believe we've done 20 Kickstarters? That's right, 20 Kickstarters. We have successfully funded and shipped 20 Kickstarters. That's 20. That means we are making comic books. And I'm here to tell you about our next batch of Kickstarter comics that you know you want to support it if you can. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let Brent Larson tell you about Kalis. Take it away, Brent.
Okay, we'll finally get to see how the story ends. Wait a minute. That's it? A tree floating in space? That's so weird. Hi, I'm Brent Larson. You may remember me from such creator-owned comics as Kalis. Some of you at the end of the story thought, this is no way for a story to end, and I agree, which is why I'm excited to announce that in September we will be kickstarting Kalis Volume 2. It'll tell more of the story of where Scott Anders actually has been, why he wants to go back, what's the CIA doing in the meantime, and who is the mysterious group that's trying to keep him here on Earth. It's very exciting, the art is wonderful, and I'm really excited to share it with you. So thanks for your support, and we'll see you in the comics.
Thank you, Brent. And now here's Rob Davis to tell us about Twilight Grimm.
20 years ago, the city of Hallowed Heights was nearly destroyed as the result of warfare between humans and vampires. In its aftermath, the two factions forged a most unusual peace plan. A high and heavily guarded wall now splits the two sides of the city. On one side of the wall reside the middle and upper classes of humans. It is clean, beautiful, and safe. On the other side of the wall, where a teenaged petty thief named Susie Q has just been exiled, lies the darkest and most horrible ghetto imaginable. Here, amongst squalor and vice, dwell the poor, the homeless, the forgotten, and the vampires. Led by the family of Gregor Radovic. As long as the vampires stay on their side of the wall, the humans on the other side are willing to pretend they don't exist and let them rule over this so-called blood zone as they see fit. This includes turning a blind eye as the vampires feast upon the zone's human inhabitants. Amidst rumors that the long-held truce may be unraveling, there's no human law in the blood zone, save for that dispensed by a mysterious and violent young man who has appointed himself its sole guardian from the depredations of the vampires. His name is Twilight Grimm.
Thank you, Rob. We've also got Sirens #2 and Scary Book #1, which is part of our remix line. You're going to love those. Horror goes in with our Silverline Horror Extravaganza. So, back it if you can. If you can't back it, we get it. We're in an inflation economy. You can share it. Tell all the people you know who love comic books that we make comic books and we ship them out, because obviously this is Kickstarter number 20. And until then, remember to make mine Silverline.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Plus.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, comics fans of all ages, please welcome to the show Mr. Rob Davis. Rob, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, didn't we just talk yesterday?
It seems like it, but you know, it's for those watching who weren't here yesterday. First of all, shame on you. And secondly, you know, we had Brent on yesterday talking about Kalis, this book right here from Silverline, which, you know, you can get this as an add-on to the current campaign. And Rob just, you know, saw the link because it was dropped into the Silverline chat. Yeah,
I photobombed. Yeah, I jumped in.
so he stayed and we talked. But his night was really supposed to be tonight, where we talk about Twilight Grimm, because you got the fourth issue. Is on this one?
Fourth and final issue. Yes, this is.
Oh no, don't say
This is
that.
the grand finale. Yes.
It's the final issue of this arc, though, right? I mean, Twilight Grimm's story
Right.
is going to go on and on and on and on and on.
Well, that's entirely up to RA. I moved on to another project that I'm working on, a graphic novel, but actually, it's a series that will eventually be gathered into a graphic novel. Probably four or six issues. I'm not sure yet. That I'm doing with Ron Fortier. So.
Oh, that's right, because you were working on that. The Pulp Hero. Is that the Pulp Heroes?
It's the Boston Bombers. It's a group set. It's a female analog of.
Sounds like a roller
Don't
derby
you hate
team.
it when your brain just kind of freezes up and you can't remember who you're talking about?
That's where I live, Joe.
Doc Savage. I get it in a minute. Doc Savage. It's a female analog of Doc Savage. It's a female hero who has a bunch of people around her, and it's set in an alternate universe where Jesus was a woman, the Pope is female, and Rome never fell. and
Oh,
so, and also World War II never happened. It's set the original series was done by Ron Fortier and Chris Jones back in the '80s with Caliber, and Ron and I started an association uh, in the early 2000s. I think 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. We did a book called Daughter of Dracula, but he also wanted to collect that miniseries into a graphic novel and print it. And with the advent of print on demand, I assembled it, put it together, sent it off to Kablam, and now it's that miniseries is a graphic novel. Well, reading that, I went, "There's more to this story, isn't there, Ron?" He goes, "Well, yeah, we were wanting to take it further, but we had, this was the '90s, and things kind of collapsed on a lot
yeah.
of
Crowdfunding in the '90s was if
especially the black and white companies, the smaller
yeah.
black and white companies. A lot of those collapsed completely. And Caliber went on and actually has reincarnated itself recently, doing reprints of some of that old stuff. Very nice reprints, by the way. And so we put that out, and I go, "Well, there's more to this story." And he goes, "Well, yes." I said, "Well, you find an artist, and we'll start, self-publishing it." So time went by, time went by. Ron couldn't find anybody. Finally, I said, "I want this to come out. I'll draw it. It'll take me a while to do it, but I'll draw it." And he goes, "You're on." So he suckered me in, I think, to
Yeah, I think
drawing this.
so.
But it's what I'm working on now. So it's coming along slowly, maybe a page a week at this point. I'm hoping to get back to. I was at one point I was getting 2 pages out a week, but I had to cut back because there's a lot of other stuff going on. Twilight Grimm for one, and some other things. So, but yeah, hopefully that'll come out in another year or so. Who knows?
Well,
But
we've
yeah,
got plenty of people here
as
to
far
hear
as
about it.
Twilight Grimm goes, I mean, RA could probably find another artist to work on it as well, if he wants to wait till I can get where I can do a couple of issues for him, and he wants to do a 2 or 3 issue thing. We might do some more, but we'll have to see what comes down the pike. And I'm not a youngster anymore. This white hair here kind of gives away the fact that I'm getting up there, and I can't continue to do this forever.
I pull those
Uh,
out when they show up.
well, if I did that, I wouldn't have any. So,
Well, we do have a lot of people in the chat. Keely Chow is here saying hello to everybody.
hi, Keely.
Mike Walters has stopped in to like and share the live stream
Hey,
as
Mike.
he regularly does. We appreciate that. Pops Van Zant is out here with the comic talk. And we are
Cool.
simulcasting on his channel, by the way. We're out there as part of the
Cool.
Comic Related Madness.
Comic-related madness.
I'm not sure what Mike is talking about here. The original Wonder Woman concept, as well as What If God Was One of Us by Joan Osborne. I think he's making a reference to the female to the gender flipped universe you were just talking about.
Okay. Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, but that's essentially what this is. It's not necessarily a matriarchal society. I mean, there are men that are in positions of political power as well, but but that some of the things in our universe are flipped with female counterparts.
Key players.
So, yes, key players are female. Yep.
So, tell us a little bit about this world of Twilight Grimm. From what I'm getting, it's kind of like, remember East and West Berlin, where probably the only two people in the chat who can.
That's about right, because the wall fell, and yes, it's essentially like what I said. If everybody saw the intro where I read that was the description of what the book is all about. It starts out with a character in the first issue who's been caught on the quote unquote good side of the wall, where all the non-vampires live, where the normal humans live, and they're throwing her on the vampire side because she is that's the wall. On the one side is the nice tall pretty buildings. On the other side is vampire, and it's all post-apocalyptic looking. So, and she gets tossed over there, and of course the sun goes down and the vampires come out and they go after her. Well, she gets saved by Twilight Grimm, and then the story kind of goes on from there. What's happened is that that wall has been put there to keep. There's been an agreement between the normals and the vampires to stay at peace and stay on their side of the wall. Well, the vampires are starting to get kind of greedy, and they want more necks to suck the blood out of. So they're trying to kill the peace, and of course, as any good guy is, the Twilight Grimm is caught in the middle, and he's caught in a love triangle as well, and there's a lot going on in this book. It would take me 4 issues to explain it, which is what we did. We took 4 issues plus I think we did a 6-page Christmas story as well in Silverline's Christmas annual last year. Something that Roland has said he'll never do again because there was so much work keeping all that online. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do as well.
So
but,
how
yeah,
does
okay, go ahead.
And I suppose I could look at maps of East Berlin and West Berlin and see how they did it. But how does a wall dividing a city work? Because I'm here in Holiday Island, and if there was a wall dividing the north from the south, well, the first thing I would do is well, then I'll just go to Eureka Springs. I can go south as far as I want, as long as I just don't go north over the wall.
Yeah, we don't really cover any of that. I would think that there's probably more like an island, or it's a peninsula, and the vampire side goes out into the water.
Okay.
We don't really delve into that part of it, but I didn't think much about it either. Of course,
I
someone
overthink
else.
these things.
Yeah, well, it's not overthinking. You're seeing the plot hole here that we didn't plug. But my thinking is that it's a peninsula that sticks out into the water, and of course, vampires can't cross
Running water. Yeah.
running water. So it might be a river. It could be any of a number of things. We don't really address that in this book because it's not part of the story. But I'm sure RA may have something worked out. I don't know.
Well, that's why we need more. Why we need more books.
Yeah, more of this going on. Of course, it as with any book, we're talking about Gotham City. We're talking about Central City. Well, those are just big city analogs of New York City. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Or Chicago, I guess, would be Central City.
I never knew if Central City was Chicago or Kansas City.
I think it's too big to be Kansas City. Kansas City is it's a good sized place, but it's not quite not as metropolitan as Chicago would be. I don't know if you've ever been in downtown Kansas City, but it's
No.
nothing compared to Chicago's downtown, which is a lot bigger and a lot more tall buildings. But yeah, it's a much bigger city. Of course, and then you've got the general area around it as well. In that respect, yeah, Chicago would still be bigger, quite a bit bigger, because it kind of goes right up the lake. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would
Central City
think
is supposed to be Midwest, and then on the TV show, there's a tidal wave. I'm like, how you pull that? Oh, never mind.
Maybe in Lake Michigan. I don't.
Yeah, could have been that.
Possible, but
So Rob, we didn't get to talk, about your history too much last night.
We touched on it, but that was really Brent's night, not mine. I was just into kind of kibitz and kind of join in and throw my 2 cents in. So I didn't want to take up too much time with last night.
Well, let's take the other 98 tonight.
Okay. Well, I broke into the comic book industry in the 1980s when the black and white boom came along from kind of an extended from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles popping up, and that kind of got everyone interested in black and white comics. And then Cerebus came along. There was a whole bunch of different black and white comic books, and that I got hooked up with the folks that were later on to be Malibu. At that time, it was Eternity Comics. There were several other, quite a number of little black and white companies that eventually merged together and became Malibu. And it started doing color comics as well as the black and whites. And I started out there. I essentially started at Now Comics as a letterer of all things. And anybody remembers Now Comics from the 1980s? They were doing color comics, and I started out there as a letterer. Then I was an inker, and then they needed a penciler on a book, and I was a so-so letterer and a little bit better at inking, but I felt the most comfortable doing pencil work and maybe inking a little of my own work. But I did a book there called because I don't want anybody to find it. No,
okay.
Die Kamikaze. It was a giant robot thing, which
I remember that Kamikaze.
do you remember Die Kamikaze?
Yes.
I did a year of that, and then the book got canceled, and I had some trouble getting my pay out of the company, so I jumped from there, and I had run into R.A. Jones at a convention I can't remember whether it was in Wichita or Kansas City, but it was one of those two conventions. And I had a business card and I gave it to him. And he was doing a book at Malibu or Eternity at that point called Scimitar, not Scimitar, Scimitar. You see, there's a D there, not a T.
That's right.
And he was saying that the artist they had on the first two issues wasn't following RA's script at all. He was just loosely doing what RA had written. He'd written full scripts, but the guy was going off and nothing was working properly. And they were deciding, well, we're going to end it at 4 issues. Would you come in and do the last 2 issues, and we'll wrap it up, and then we'll move on to something else. So I hopped over there, and I started doing the artwork that was in it was kind of very. There wasn't very much dynamism to it, and when I saw it, well, I think I could spice this up a little bit. And then the script called for some very sexy women, and in fact some bare breasts. So I drew them.
We know it sells comics.
Yeah, bare breasts. Yeah, and so the book, and as soon as I took it over, sales shot up, and the 4th issue came out, and sales went up again. And they said, "Okay, well, we've already announced we're going to end it, but we'll end that, and then we'll do a book 2, and we'll do a 4-issue miniseries, and we'll just do it in chunks of 4-issue miniseries and see how far we can take this." And I think we ended up with book 5 before I finally started getting some work at DC and elsewhere on the Star Trek books. And then I kind of jumped ship and went over there for a little bit. And then Malibu, at that point, got the license for Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which was a brand new TV show at that time. So I called up my contacts at Malibu. We'd left on good terms. And I said, well, I'm trying to do Star Trek work now, but I see you have Deep Space Nine. Is there any possibility I can start doing some work for you guys again? And they said, well, sure. The guy we've got doing the regular book every month, they'd already gotten somebody to do it. He'd been doing Star Trek for DC occasionally. And so they said, but he's also wanting to do a superhero book at Marvel. And so he's only going to be able to do 2 out of every 3 issues. So we'd like you to jump in and do the fill-in issue on the 3rd. So that's what I did. And then they said, and then we're also thinking of doing some mini series that will circle around the regular series, and we'd like you to do those. So that's exactly what I ended up doing for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. I'd have to go back and look exactly. But I kept doing that, and then that parlayed into another stint on 5 issues at DC on their start. The first one I did at DC was for Star Trek: The Next Generation. I did 1 issue there. Then I jumped back and did the Deep Space Nine stuff. But then I got called by the editor at DC who needed some help on their on their Star Trek book with Kirk, Spock, McCoy during the film era. They were doing that era of the book, and they needed a fill-in for about, well, originally it was only going to be one issue, but it ended up being 3 or 4, if I remember right. And then I started doing some other stuff out there. There was Quantum Leap at Innovation, which is
Yeah,
another
I love that
company
book.
that popped up. I did a couple of issues of that. I did a 12-issue miniseries with them earlier called Straw Men. That was a black and white book for them, and it kind of jumped around a little bit. But then, I was mainly doing these Deep Space Nine stuff, and then Malibu was bought out by Marvel, and they took over all the they eventually took over all of the Malibu books. They canceled some, and others they took over all the Star Trek books. They even got the license for the stuff that had been at DC. And the editor came in and says, "Well, okay, we're doing a clean slate. We're not going to use anybody that's drawn the characters or written the characters for other publishers. We're going to do it with a clean slate, all new people." So I was left high and dry.
Yeah.
So, and then at about the same time, the whole industry kind of imploded. Black and whites were going out of business. Malibu shrank down to nothing, and then was shoved into the file cabinet. And it was difficult for a lot of us to find work. And at that time, I mean, I could have kept plugging away and probably gotten back in, but at that point, I had a couple of young children and a mortgage to support, as well as a wife.
Yeah, the whole real life business.
Yeah, so real life came along, and I said, well, and plus I have no retirement with working in comic books. You're a freelancer, you don't have a retirement plan. So I finagled my way around and got a commercial driver's license and started driving a city bus for about 20 years. But in the meantime, I still had the studio in my home. I still did drawings. I did some design work for video games, some other illustration work along the way. And then eventually we get to getting toward the end of my career driving a bus, and I to kind of back up just a little bit, Ron Fortier made his name writing Green Hornet for Now Comics. Now he started with Now Comics after I had left. I left them because I wasn't getting paid. I mean, the whole thing is to get paid for what you're doing. But he was doing the Green Hornet, was doing real well. It was selling real well, getting a lot of accolades. And he wanted to do a couple of miniseries. Thanks, George. And so
I brought these images up, and I didn't realize that you had Jim Balint doing the covers on these things.
Yes,
like, wow, that's
Jim
some
Balint.
old school Jim.
They brought in a bunch of different people to do the covers on those. I think that's book 2, isn't it? I can't quite.
It says number 1 at the top corner.
Well, that's the number 1, but that's book 2. That's the second miniseries. It's called book 2.
It does say there, yes.
Yeah, and they had for the first those 4 issues, they had a different hot artist do those. Jim Balint, Mike Keown. I never could learn how to pronounce his name.
Dale Keown?
Yeah, he does some did some Batman work, did some other really kind of scary stuff. I mean, horror stuff. Yeah. Pleasure and Pain. That's book 2, I think.
That says book 1 there on that one.
That's book 1. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the collection from the first 4 issues. We gathered that together as a graphic novel. So anyway,
is that your work on the cover?
Yes, it is. I airbrushed that even. That's completely my work. Inks and colors.
Yeah, the colors look great. I can see the airbrushing because it's got muscle texture. And for the gods of YouTube, I'm going to take it back off the screen now.
Well,
YouTube doesn't like butts.
That's even that's a little racy, but you're not really seeing much. But
Yeah.
anyway, he was doing that, and I'm trying to remember. I think he called me, got my telephone number, and he talked to me. He says, "Well, we'd like you to do. I really like your artwork, especially what you were doing on Scimitar. And would you be interested in doing a mini series for Green Hornet?" And I said, "Well, I didn't leave under good terms with Now Comics, and I really don't want to work for them again." And he says, "Well, I understand, but let's keep in touch." And for a while there, he and I tried to sell a couple of ideas to DC and to Marvel, and nothing ever stuck. So we kind of drifted apart. But anyway, I was doing in the early 2000s, I was doing an online comic strip called the Spirit of Route 66, which is about a guy who refurbishes his dad's Thunderbird, 1966 Thunderbird, and he takes it for a drive on Route 66, which ran from Chicago, Illinois, all the way out to Malibu, California.
Yeah.
And on the first leg of the trip, he discovers that essentially the car has turned into a time machine, and it's taking him back through the history of Route 66 to different. And that was the idea that I had, was that this was going to be kind of like Quantum Leap meets Route 66. So and I was publishing it online as on a website as a weekly comic strip, parts
Sure.
of the story. And Ron ran across that, and he goes, "Oh, Rob's doing work again." So he gets a hold of me, and he says, "Well, I have this one script for a book that originally I wrote it as a screenplay, and I couldn't get anybody to do it as a screenplay. And then I wrote it as a graphic novel, and I couldn't get any publishers or any artists involved in doing it. I've got the script, and I think you would be great for it. Would you do it?" And I said, "Well, send me the script and I'll look at it." So I get the script, and it's Daughter of Dracula, where Dracula's daughter meets and falls in love with the Red Baron during World War One, and they have a torrid love affair. And interweaved in the story is the actual history of the Red Baron, where at one point they have this torrid love affair, and she is starting to turn him into a vampire so they can live together forever. And then he gets shot down and killed, and she goes berserk. And then the story goes on from there. I don't want to give the rest of it away, but this is an adult story. There's some nudity and some sexual situations in it, so it's a mature reader's book, which is
We call those
probably
selling
why.
points.
Yeah. So since I had done Scimitar, he thought this was something that I might be interested in doing, and I was. And I told him, "Well, the best I can do is I can do the penciling, lettering, and I can do some gray tones over it, but I can only do one page a week," thinking he would tell me no, because I was reluctant. I liked it, and I kind of wanted to do it, but at the same time, I didn't want to just tell him, "No, I can't do it right now." I said, "Well, the only way I could do it is if I did one page a week." And he says, "I'll take it." So this is a 112-page graphic novel
Oh,
that I'm going to put out one page a week on. So
so
for the
2 years
next
from now, we'll have it.
Yeah. So for 2 years, every week, I sent him a penciled, lettered, inked, and gray toned, because I wanted it to look like an old Hammer film, a black and white Hammer film, or
Yeah.
one of the old Universal horror films from back in the World War One era. So and I turned it in, and every week he got another page of it. We got up to page 112, and it was done. So we tried to shop it around to publishers again, because it was all done. All they would have had to do was put it together, and no one seemed to want to bite on it. Well, about this time is when print on demand printing started happening. So I did a little bit of research, and I said, "To heck with it, let's just publish it ourselves,
Yeah.
and we'll put it out there, and we'll take it to conventions and sell it off of our table." And we send it, and for every convention Ron or I go to, either together or apart, we always sell at least a handful of copies of that book, Daughter of Dracula, and it's done in that respect. It's done real well for us. We still think it would make a great movie if someone would read the novel, read the graphic novel, and see the potential in it, because it was originally conceived as a movie.
Well, those Netflix guys are always shopping.
Well,
So you never
if
know.
we could get somebody from Netflix to take a look at it, I think that they might have to clean up some of it, because Netflix doesn't go for full frontal nudity, but which is what this has. So anyway,
Yeah.
Ron and I get hooked together, and he also has this idea for a book publishing company, because he went to a pulp convention called Pulp. Yeah, it was in Columbus, Ohio. It's now called Pulp Fest. I think it was just called PulpCon back then. And he noticed that everyone in the room, the dealers and all the fans, were all in. He was the youngest person in the room, and he was in his late 50s, early 60s at that point. And he goes, "This is dying out, but let's see if we can." Well, he said his idea was to find public domain characters in the pulp era that they no longer have any copyright on them. Let's take some of those and see if we can find writers today that would be interested in writing stories of those characters, and let's find some of our comic book pals who are are interested in pulp and would love to draw some pulp stuff, and have them do illustrations like the original pulps did. So we started up Airship 27, and I believe that was 2004, 2005, somewhere in there. We did one or two books. They did okay. We got some acclaim. We went to a pulp convention, sold some books off the table. Started off with 5 on the table at our first show, and we just went to Pulp Fest it's now in Pittsburgh, near Pittsburgh, and we had 2 tables stacked full of books. We've published over 200 books in the time since we started. So this thing is just, it's snowballed into something, and nobody's getting rich at it, but we're having a lot of fun doing these characters. And I do the design work, I do the logo work, I put together all the files, send them off to Amazon. They put them up on Amazon, print them out. We sell PDFs off of our website. There's also Kindle books, and it's turned into a nice little side gig.
Yeah. You get enough of those, you can retire.
Well, yeah. Or get a job driving a bus and live on the retirement from that and Social Security. What the heck?
Sure.
Which is what I'm doing. And now I can do pretty much whatever I want. And and kind of like Ron finding me, Roland found me again. R.A. Jones wanted to do something with the Silverline, and he had 3 proposals that he thought I might be interested in as an artist. He says, see if Rob will draw one of these, and have him pick which one. So Roland got a hold of me. I said, yeah, that sounds like an interesting project. I could probably fit that in between what I'm doing with Airship 27 and some of the other stuff that I'm doing. And now that I'm fully retired, I have more time to do all this stuff. So he sent those 3 proposals. I looked them over, and I went, wait a minute, this one's got vampires in it. Ooh, and so he kind of sold me on that. He knew how to sucker me in, and I found out later from RA that he said, I figured you'd probably like that one the best. So, and he was right. That was the one that was the hook that reeled me in. So, and that brings us to the Kickstarter that's going on right now,
Which is linked below the video, folks. So click on it anytime,
please
please.
check it out. We actually reached our goal, but we'd like to push this we'd like to do some push goals, and there are some extra benefits that come if we get to those certain goals. You'll have to get into it and dive a little deeper into it. The first page will not cover the push goals that are there. You'll have to jump in and dig a little deeper in there. From what you told me last night in email, I had actually signed up to do 4 original sketches that were made available for this Kickstarter, and apparently those have all been snatched up, so they're
They
all
were.
gone. There's like
I
5.
was on the add-on page and I was hitting
Yeah,
Control F Davis. Boom, 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 boom. Nope, not there.
nothing. They were all gone. Okay. Yeah, I also have original art from uh, book 4 that's up
Those were
there.
there.
Those were still there. Okay.
Some of those were still there, but
Oh,
yeah.
so some of those is gone as well. Okay, well that's
Well,
great.
I
That's
didn't. I
good to
didn't
know.
count, to see what was still
I think I
advertised,
had
what was
5.
gone.
I think I had 5 of them. I've got them right here.
I kind
I've
of
got
remember 4. Oh, if
1,
you're going to show art, we'll give you
2,
the big screen.
3. There were 5 because I've got five things here. Yeah.
Yeah, let me give you the big screen here. Now, you work always traditionally. You don't do digital, or do you do digital?
I do a little bit of digital work. I don't, but I'm old fashioned. I'm still doing it on Bristol board with black ink, pencil and black ink. So there's
Yeah, and when you do that, you have something at cons that you can sell.
exactly.
It's a vampire hunter on a motorcycle. So
Yeah.
he looks like this. He looks like a Doctor Who, a version of Doctor Who at some point, because he got the long coat on. He's kind of got fancy dress. The
Yeah.
hair is a little bit,
He's got
anachronistic.
these long, sharp blades that he has on each thigh. Somebody asked me, well, why didn't he use longer, thicker blades? And I'm going, thinking, you're stabbing rather than slicing. When you want to kill a vampire, you stab them. So you go with a sharp knife instead of a stiletto type.
Yeah, folks, if you want original art, these are full-size pages, and they are available on this Kickstarter.
As you can see, they're 11 by 17,
yeah,
full size. Yeah,
that's the big boys there. And while we got you on the big screen here, there's a monster behind you.
This is the cover for Sirens #2, which is also in this Kickstarter. Those are that's the pencils, and Barb Kahlberg did the inks on it and the colors. But that's also, I believe that's
I
also
recognize
available.
it now. Art always looks a little bit different to me when I see the original pencils versus the finished product.
Mm-hmm. Depending on who inks it, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm just like, I had a guy who drew a Batgirl picture for me, and he drew me a profile, and because I told you I've got an accidental Batgirl collection. It wasn't intentional. I was going to cons in the late '80s, and I started getting my first. This would be after the Scimitar picture I had you draw that disappeared. I said, well, maybe I better get safer stuff. So I would meet somebody, and the last thing I wanted to do was have them draw the same character that they draw 80 times a day. I said, I'd want to see something they did.
Good for you, because it'll drives us nuts at conventions. Everybody asks for the same thing.
Mike Grell's drawing his 862,000th warlord.
Yeah.
So I would say, have you ever done Batgirl? Was like the first thing I asked. Like, no, I can do Batgirl. And I had 2 pictures, and by the time you have 3, it's like, well, this is a pattern now. You just got to keep this up. So I've got a collection of different artists drawing Batgirl hanging up all over the place here.
I know people who go, those big 8.5 by 11 sketchbooks that have the cardboard covers that it's plastic on the outside, black plastic. And you open them, it's got real nice paper inside. I've met guys that they each one of the ones that they have, and they do it every year. They get a new one, and they have artists do the same character throughout the book, and it's usually like a secondary character, like Batgirl or somebody like that, and they take it around. And I love seeing those because I look and see what the other guys have done, and there's some fantastic stuff in there that you'll not see anywhere else. somebody doing a Batgirl who's never done a Batgirl comic book, but
Yeah.
he's got a great take on the character and an interesting look for it. So yeah, that's I see a lot of those, and that's a lot of fun. That's a
What?
great way to collect pictures, is to have them in a book like that and just take it to. And I usually charge less for sketches at conventions. If you bring your own book and you want me to draw in it, I'll charge you less than I would for when I use my own materials.
I'm going to have
So
to consider that when I go to conventions. But he had drawn this beautiful profile bust of Batgirl, and I was like, had a soft jawline, the hair, the curls of hair, and he sent me the pencils. I'm like, just stop, just
yeah,
stop right there.
yeah, right there.
But he
That's
was going to
good.
put it on his inking show and show people, because his inking show was teaching people how to ink. And I saw him. He was inking the picture later, and then he sent me the two pictures side by side. I'm like, see, now when it's inked, the jaw looks different. It's a little bit tilted. How did you get the head to tilt differently through inking? He's like, you're really picking up subtle differences here. I'm like, yeah. He's like, let me tell you a little secret. When you told me you liked the pencil so much, I set it aside and I redrew it for the inking one.
That's
so
nice. That was
pencil
nice
one
of him
and
to
the ink
do.
one.
Yeah.
They're beautiful side by side. So yeah, that's my Batgirl collection. It's kind of weird. I think sometimes an artist takes a little bit of a front when you ask them if they can draw in a certain style, because artists are like, it's art. It's, its style is irrelevant or something. The guy didn't get offended, but I asked the guy, I said, can you draw in an Archie style? And he's like, well, yeah, sure. Just style's a style. Now he had to look up the characters.
Yeah, you had to get reference. Yeah.
Yeah. But I had him draw, and this was something my son, who's not into superheroes at all, but was heavily into Archie. I mean, we have about 1,200 Archie Digest books on a big fat library shelf just lined up.
Wow.
So he was reading those, and I said, "Here's what I want." He was 8 at the time, middle school age, more older than 8, probably maybe closer to 10 or 12. I said, "I want little Archie, the little Archie characters. I want little Betty and little Veronica walking off arm in arm with him, and here's his picture. And I want little Archie just kind of going, what the hell just happened here? And Jughead falling out on his ass." And I knew I wanted one picture. He said, "You want 6 characters." And it was like, cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. I'm like, well, yeah, but I have to have them all to make the picture be what I want. So I paid the price. And they were only $25 a character. So yeah, it adds up fast, but
wow. He said, yeah, that's more than I charge.
well, it was okay. I'm going to be sending some orders your way.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that's at conventions. I do some commission work at home here, but I'm keeping so busy on trying to get Boston Bombers done. What the stuff that I've done for Silverline, I've done a little background penciling work for Divinity to help them catch up. I've done some of that, and I just help out where I can. Do covers. Yeah, that's a great book, by the way. Very very well written. Barb Kalberg, and she also does the inking and coloring on that book, and it's a great concept.
Folks, if you're
Look for
concerned
that
about picking up a Silverline book, these things are quality put together here. I mean, the paper is glossy white paper. The covers are solid. They're going through Kablam, so the back ad. I mean, I don't know what book I'm picking up if I've got them laying down, because it's all the same ad on the back for Kablam. But if you've gotten a Kablam book, you know that they're well put together. They're
they are. That's who we used for. That's who we used for Daughter of Dracula, and I eventually collected my Route 66 story into comic book form, and I printed that through Kablam. I've done Ron Fortier's got a character with Hawaiian artist Gary Kato, who lives in, like I said, lives in Honolulu. Mr. Jigsaw, that they first started doing it for Charlton back in the 70s, I think it was. And we've done 17 issues of Mr. Jigsaw now. He's in black and white, but all of them done at Kablam. We just recently published number 17. You can, if anybody's interested in seeing what that's like, it's Kablam has a subsidiary called indieplanet.com, INDY planet.com, where you can go in and buy either you can order actual physical copies or even digital copies of all the comic books that they publish and print. And you can find Mr. Jigsaw there.
That's fantastic. I'm trying to scroll down to where we're going to look at the Twilight Grimm. It's the very first one. Here it is. So number 4 is what's up for grabs tonight, but you can still get 1 through 3 on the add-ons.
Yep.
It's only $10. That's a steal. But I mean, if I were you guys, I would definitely take the $30 tier, get all 4 books. I've been reading Kalis today, number 1. This is the Kalis Achilles Has Landed number 1. So there's 1 through 4 of this, and then Achilles Has Landed starts the next series. Really good stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, if you like John Carter of Mars and Buck Rogers in the 25th century, get Kalis. Been reading Twilight Grimm. Also really good stuff. I mean, you talk about a bifurcated city, vampires on one side, the normal people on the other. And it's not just that there's the division of the city, it's that they're using that wall to get rid of their undesirables. So, you don't conform to the people who live in Metropolis upper levels. They send you to Metropolis below. In this case, it's just horizontal instead of vertical.
Yeah, they have like 1 or 2 gates that they send them through that are they're guarded regularly, so people can't go either way. So the vampires can't come on the regular human side, and the humans, regular humans still. Although occasionally they will go over and party, because there's some pretty heavy duty parties that happen on the darker side of the wall.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, some of that goes
vampires,
on. So
vampires throw the best orgies.
Well, we don't talk about orgies, but yeah.
Yeah, it's bacchanals.
Bacchanal, there you
go. You can get them in digital. You can get all 4 digitals for $20. My phone is buzzing all over the place.
And you have the link below, right? You have
the link is below.
Kickstarter.
So,
yes,
yeah.
Please.
So anybody watching this afterwards, I know Pops has put the link into the chat. So if you're in the chat right now, you can probably see where Pops has done this already. There it is.
There it is. Thank you.
That's somebody else's thing. Where's that?
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, they're saving Mr. Creep. He's got all kinds of Silverline stuff here. But there's the very top one. The Silverline horror is what you need to hit.
Yeah,
and
you could probably just go to Kickstarter and type in Silverline. It'll probably take you there as well. And it'll also list some of the other 19 that have already been out there. But if you want to, you can go and you can buy any of the back issues of any of the Silverline stuff as add-ons to any one of these things that you do there at the Kickstarter.
Yeah, and let me tell you, folks, the backlog here. I'm going to scroll, so if anybody's going to have seizures, close your eyes for a second, because it's a waste. Okay, here we look at this. Look at this wall o books. This is what's going to be available in the add-on section here, because there are all these Silverline books, all of them in fantastic condition as far as again, the physicality.
Ron Fortier had this book called Beyond the Stars. That was from the last Kickstarter that they had. And that's a great sci-fi book.
Is that one of the many that I'm looking at here, or is that?
It should be one of those. Yeah, it's one of the back issues. Yeah, and they also.
There it is. Yep. Okay.
Right next to Bad. It should be on there. That's another one to look at. Look at the description of that. See if that's something you would like to get as well. There's also Sirens. Sirens number 2 is in this one, and Sirens number 1 is also in that back. I see it in there.
Got a gorgeous. I love the font.
Yeah, and I actually did a cover for that as well, and that's right here for issue 1 of Sirens.
That's who? I'm trying to think whose style I'm thinking of here, but it's a very underground kind of style. on that woman.
Yeah, that
I don't
was
wanna-
yeah.
I don't want to say Eisner, but yeah,
Could
it's
be.
but a lot of books you can add on here, including a couple of the trades that Silverline's got that they've done there. Rob, there's the picture right there that I used.
Mhm.
For
Oh yeah, that's the one that you cartoonized.
yes.
Yeah, and I got that kind of smirk on my. It accented my smirk.
These are the pages that you showed that are
Mhm.
available on some of these tiers here. So if you want this one here, this page should have gone. And I know you had
It's
it there, so
that one. That one hasn't sold. That's interesting.
I'd have to go to the back to the
Oh,
add-ons and see for sure,
yeah,
because
that's right. You'd have to go
they're
for
all
that.
they're all add-ons. They're not
Right.
part of a tier, which makes it a little more difficult to tell from page
When
one.
they first started doing the Kickstarters, they were actually part of a tier, but that now they're doing them as add-ons, which seems to work a little better. I really like that Twilight Grimm T-shirt.
Yeah,
That turned out very nicely.
I haven't seen the other ones yet that they've
Mhm.
done, but I like the motif that they're sticking with
Mhm.
the composition, the circle, the character, the
Mm-hmm.
title, and of course the Silverline thing under it. And then of course there were 4 opportunities to get original art from Rob right here. They're gone. I know because I was trying to get them. So
Yeah, there's one guy that has at every Kickstarter that I've been in, he's gotten at least 1 or 2 of my sketches. He's requested 1 or 2 each time. So he probably snatched those up as soon as they became available.
yeah. Now these were done on the smaller page. See, these were
Yeah,
done on a
it's
back
eight
board.
8.5 by 11 cardstock. It's almost exactly what it is exactly what I do at conventions. It's that same
Okay.
size. So it's so that it can be packaged up with your books when they send them to you.
Yeah. I package a lot of books, Rob. and,
So
and
yeah,
I have people asking today, can you handle a poster like this? I'm like, here's what we got. We can fit them in the Gemini. I can fit them in an 18 by 12 1-inch flat, or I can roll them into poster tubes. We got you
Yeah.
covered all the way around.
there you go. Yep.
Packing and shipping's my jam. It's very zen, actually.
But it makes it easier for whoever's packing and shipping them that it's all the same size. They don't have to go out and get some odd sized or shaped box to put everything in.
Yeah, and
But
I've seen some
and
odd size stuff.
seeing this, see, I had not seen the colors on my pages until this page popped up, and I went, yeah, Mickey Clausen did the colors on that and just did a stupendous job. It's a beautiful book, thanks to the coloring and
I wish I could get it a
just
little
great,
bit bigger.
just fun.
Yeah, folks, if the idea of, a guy fighting vampires in modern day with a weird city structure that's, where the vampires aren't hidden. This is one of the things that sticks out to me, is that this is not a kind of book where, the hero runs into somebody in a city street and she says, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm being chased by vampires." And they go, "Ah, ha, ha, sure you are." No, it's like, you say, "Yeah, I'm being chased by a vampire." They're like, "Get in here. I've got some holy water."
Yeah.
Because they're a known quantity. Just like True Blood.
Yes, exactly.
So it's refreshing. It's kind of tiresome when you have to skim through the chapter where the person gets convinced that the supernatural exists so that you can move on with the rest of the story.
Well, and this kind of brings up, you talked about holy water. It brings up an interesting sequence in the book. But think about this: holy water balloons. Holy water balloons. What would those do to vampires? So just
like
there's a
grenades.
sequence. There's a sequence in the book that deals with that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, why in the world would you keep it in the little glass vial and get close enough to do this with it? Get a super soaker by all means.
Yeah, exactly. Have the priest bless a lot of water and then put it in water balloons, put it in a super soaker. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay, look, they're on the other side of this river here. Bless the river. No, that doesn't work because it's never the same river twice, is it? It's flowing. Bless the ocean. Just go to the reservoir and then it's all blessed.
There you go. Have the priest stand on the dam and do the sign of the cross over the water. There we go.
There, yeah. Maybe we need a whole, all the priests line up across the dam to do it, just to make sure that they can get full
there
coverage.
You go. Yep.
Oh, that's story writing right there. I was like, yeah, how can we take this and make it larger, make it bigger? Yeah, okay. Maybe this is why
I think what we digress. We digress.
Yeah, we've OP'd the main character here. It's like you gotta leave your character weak enough to have an interesting struggle and strong enough to make it a satisfying victory. I've been watching the Justice League cartoons again after a long time, and it turns out I missed a whole bunch of them first time around, but thankfully HBO Max is letting me binge them. And I'm like, wow, they really nerfed the whole team. I mean, Superman's getting hurt by rocks being thrown at him. That's not right.
Well, maybe they're kryptonite rocks. Who knows?
If you throw them hard enough, they hurt. And Flash was just a jerk the whole time. He never grew as a character. So I don't know. I'm into the Unlimited set now. Maybe it'll get, I remember really enjoying them, and I still really enjoyed them. I was just like, I got tired of that. It's like, he's Superman. Anyway, we've reached the top of the hour. Folks, remember, make mine Silverline. Get out there, hit the Kickstarter. Check out Twilight Grimm. Check out Kalis. Check out Sirens. Check them all out. And you won't be disappointed. These are inexpensive books. See how I don't say cheap? These are inexpensive. Yeah. These are inexpensive books with some great add-ons, with some really, really good writing. And I don't say that lightly. I am a reviewer. So, when as a reviewer, I'm telling you, these books are worth reading.
Thank you. Thank you.
Not a
much.
lot of independent people you can say that about, because there are so many independent people out there that just, hey kids, let's make a comic book, and then next week they're printing it because that's the amount of effort that went into it. These are quality books. So,
and the thing to remember about comic books from Silverline is, unlike some other Kickstarter books, these are complete. They're ready to go to the printer right this minute. As soon as this is over, they'll be sent off. They'll be printed up. Every Silverline book, we have not missed a deadline yet, because they're all done before we put it into the Kickstarter. So if you bid on these books, you will get them. You will get them. There's
only one page that you have to make, and that's the list of the contributors where you say thank you. So
that's it. Everything else is already made and ready to go off to Kablam to be printed.
Yep, they're delivering in November, which is just right around the corner. Probably sooner than that. So,
yeah, it usually takes about 4 to 6 weeks for them to get it through the process and make sure everything's right, and then package it all up and send it out, because that takes time as well.
It does.
But,
because I've sent things to printers and I'm like, where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Still waiting on some stuff. I'm like, the convention's at the end of the month. Where's it at? Where's it at?
Yeah. You can order them. Got to order your books way ahead of time. Yep.
Yes, you do.
But anyway, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Good to talk to you again.
Yes.
And good. Thanks for all the fans that tuned in and will tune in after this goes up on YouTube, right?
It's up on YouTube right now, and it will be there as soon as we say goodnight.
All right. Sounds good.
It's an immediate thing. So thank you, Rob, and everybody in the chat. Thank you for being here. We don't have a show without you. And as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.
Good night.